I guess the last thing I want to talk about is these really unspeakably terrible floods that happened in Texas. And it's horrible, particularly because about 100 people have died that we know of, but particularly it was the summer camp for girls that was just washed away, and seemingly something like 60 campers drowned. I mean, unspeakable, really, horrible to imagine. But look, I don't know if there is a direct connection between all of the cuts in the National Weather Service and FEMA that are I don't know, led to this disaster. Because look, floods happen, natural disasters happen, but the aftermath of this has been really telling, because I saw a story the other day about how the deployment of search and rescue teams was delayed by 3 days because of a new mandate at the Department of Homeland Security that requires Kristi Noem to sign off on any expenditure over $100,000. And it's just $100,000.
And
what the fuck is the point?
3 days is life or death. After last Friday, they were no longer finding people alive. So
yeah, there are people who lost multiple children because $100,000 for a federal department is what is the fucking point? What is the fucking point of having a government if it is not the body that can very quickly spend millions of dollars to do search and rescue for people lost in a flood or repair the infrastructure caused by devastating natural disasters? What point is there in any of this to nickel and dime the budgeting over this shit is sickening.
Well, I saw reporting about how and this has been reported that FEMA's budget is being rated as a slush fund for ICE. Alligator Alcatraz is going to cost something like $650 million just for the rest of the year, I believe it was. And another data point from today, which lets you know that this is also definitely Texas's unique fault, is that Governor Greg Abbott was saying someone was basically a reporter was kind of whose fault is this? And he was saying talking about whose fault it is basically quote unquote loser shit.
Catherine, his comments were the entire state of Texas loves the game of football. We love football. And he's championship
teams sometimes lose.
No, he was the losing teams, after they lose, they point fingers and try to assign blame. The winning teams, after they lose, they say, we got this. And my comment on that is usually the winning teams say we got this before the big game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't lose the Super Bowl, or in this case 60 girls at a summer camp, and then just go, we got this.
Yeah.
We got this.
If this was a football game, it would be the football game depicted at the start of the movie The Last Boy Scout.
Yeah.
And going back a bit, to actually to the effects of austerity on weather service, that actually does have a massive effect, because states and the federal government communicate, or should communicate, in an ideal non-austerity regime, of what to expect. Obviously, it's not perfect, but something of this scale, catching it even a day before, would be the difference between, dozens, if not hundreds of people living or dying. I mean, that is the thing with austerity. Austerity always comes with a body count, but it's never in the things that you expect, because something as complex as the federal government, as enormous, that is picking up the slack for so many things in so many ways, there are so many pillars that are just barely being held up by one federal agency, one sub-agency, one thing that all it takes is one fucking idiot to look at it and go, why are we spending $10 billion on weather reporting? And then then your kid is dead.
Well, and it really belies this idea about does any life matter to MAGA people? These are little girls in Texas, lives that should theoretically matter to these people.
It was a Christian summer camp.
Yeah, and again, we were just talking about how these people are happy to let Epstein go. It's but they're also willing to not make this into Trump's or even Greg Abbott's Katrina. like the right wing, and the right wing are the people capable of like, really sinking an administration over something like letting Christian girls like be washed away to their deaths. So it's like, obviously they don't care about the lives of, I don't know, immigrants or, Palestinians or whatever. But like, they also don't care about the lives of their countrymen's own little girls.
As long as they get to see like anyone, whether it's like a Mexican guy in LA who's fucking born here, like some random German guy with a green card, just anyone get like brutalized and like die in a detention center, then it's worth it. It's just worth it if someone else had a bad day.
I gotta bring this up. I don't know if you guys saw that N+1 story about talking to, like, the guy spent like 2 days talking to people who were like interviewing for ICE jobs or applying for ICE jobs.
Yeah.
And like, I've been thinking about it ever since I read it. And, like the word that the writer assigned to like what these people are looking for is kind of wanderlust. And also just like the meanness and the graphic t-shirtness of these people, like basically they were spouting claims about like, yeah, I want to join the American Gestapo because I don't want illegal immigrant kids to get free school supplies, or like citing like these other like conspiracies that like the writer couldn't even find cited as conspiracies like anywhere online. So like we are reaching unprecedented levels of like human life being cheaper than ever, and the people willing to extinguish it or like excuse its extinguishment just being more retarded than ever.
Here's the thing about Texas. They love eating shit and they love dying.
Yeah.
They can't get enough of that. Oh my God, I'm dying. Thank you. Thank you, God.
That is 1000% true. Like, people always love these like hypotheticals, like, what if your daughter, needs an abortion, or like, what if your wife was an immigrant? But like, people in Texas would love it if it was their kid's funeral. Yeah. And then the Israeli consulate was like, hey, we need to use this funeral home for a celebration of Israeli clown step. You have to leave now.
Yeah.
They would love if that happened to them.
Yeah.
Real quick, though, Catherine, my favorite highlight from the N+1 article was the guy at the ICE jobs fair who said he was hoping to parlay his success and the money that he won't be making, terrorizing people at doctor's appointments and in city parks and ethnically cleansing the country as part of America's Gestapo. He was like, I hope I can use the money I make doing this job to parlay it into buying homes that I can use as Airbnbs.
That's America! That's America! Oh my God, we are so fucking doomed.
That's
Fire
median
at
voter.
will.
Median voter.
Honestly, this is who the Democratic Party thinks is gettable if we just follow the polling with our policy. This is who they want to win over.
Yeah, I mean, I will point out, you will lose money having an Airbnb now because guess who killed Airbnb by realizing it sucks? Faillennials. Guess who elected Zoran? Faillennials, white men. Guess who's saving the country? Faillennials, white men, Chapo cells.
We Felix, we started it all when we let all those ants into that Airbnb in Silver Lake.
Oh man, I was thinking about that the other day. That was so fun. But we did. There's no Zoran without us doing that. So you're welcome. You're welcome for us bringing a biblical plague to the fucking admittedly really cool house.
The house was really nice.
Matt was also a part of it because we had Matt over from like down the street and they said we were throwing a party and it was just Matt speaking at regular volume but outdoors.
I was quiet.
Yeah, like you often are.
That was when I was like, we have to stop doing this because I spent the entire trip just arguing with that guy to just like go on the Airbnb app and like I was like looking up like Airbnb like laws on Wikipedia. That was, I mean, I would like to say we swore off of Airbnb for moral reasons. I think it's more because I could no longer get in arguments with those guys.
Yeah, it was too annoying.
Just real quick to go back to the Texas flooding here.
Yeah,
And like,
sorry.
Yeah. But from like you know, we were talking about real problems like that we have to deal with Airbnb hosts, but you know, like in lesser important news, all the people who just died in the flood. The last thing I want to talk about with this is like I think it's like the reaction I'm seeing once again from like MAGA supporters about like the failure of their own government and like the death of their own kids is it's a similar reaction to the Epstein stuff, where it's just like without missing a beat, they'll just find a way to like reformat their worldview and avoid assigning blame to any of the people that they, you know, put their faith in. And like the interesting thing I've been seeing, and like, look, this is not like the broad range of opinion. I've just been like in the fever swamps. I have been noticing a new not a new trend, but a growing trend that every natural disaster is in fact not natural but man-made, and like the weather has become a part of conspiracy now. That any weather that happens is a result of geoengineering and cloud seeding. And what I love about that is like Trump is in control of the government right now. Texas is like a unified like one-party state. Like, who's doing this to you?
Well, that's like their version of like, oh, we would do all this if it wasn't for Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they're just people. They're just, in order to get this majority, we need pro chemtrails people, unfortunately.
We would do this not just because of like one shithead senator, but we would do this if our party didn't control all of Texas, the White House, and the Senate.
But no, there is a weather machine. That's not crackpot. It's called internal combustion engine. It's very, very devious.
Well, it's actually, I mean, you would be surprised, the guy who helped popularize it.
Oh, what
he was very against the Jewish, I would say it's an anti-Jewish conspiracy.
Oh, whoa.
Because it causes more humidity. The enemy of the Jewish race, which is why Henry Ford did all that. But yeah, I did you see that clip of like that poor like news station in Oklahoma?
Oh, I was just going to bring that up, Felix.
Man.
So like basically like a guy attacked a news in Oklahoma. A guy like jumped the fence, like cut into the power box, and like basically sabotaged like the local News 9 weather radar in Oklahoma, and a militia group took responsibility for it, and like claiming that weather radar is what causes weather.
American jihad. This is American jihad.
Well, like I saw the clip of like the station's like chief meteorologist, and I felt so bad for him. Because it is like, he's like an archetypical, like, you know, Bush Republican. Like, he probably voted for Trump, but he's like, oh my God, can we just go back to Trent Lott?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus like, he's so sad. Like, the shithead that, like, sabotaged his precious radar, he's, like, on TV explaining the concept of radar, like, to kindergartners. And the guy who sabotaged it, who's, like coming out and going, yes, I did this to save Oklahoma. That's like, that will be like Trump's ambassador to Norway.
Yeah.
Like that's more representative of the party than.
Yeah. He should make that guy head of NOAA.
Yeah.
Well, Felix, like in that clip, when you see the guy, like the security footage of the guy climbing over the fence, like using bolt cutters to like get into the like the circuit box or whatever, and then just like, you know, sabotaging this weather radar array. If the weather radar array was like literally controlling the weather as part of this like grand conspiracy, don't you think it would be harder to get into it? And like, you know what I mean? Like this is a guy who just climbed a fence and like opened the power box. So like if this was the HAARP weather control machine, I think the security would be a little bit better on it. And not just, for instance, a local news channel's weather radar.
Yeah, like separated by like the chain link fence.
That's it.
Yeah, that is playing the game on very easy mode. Snake, the weather control satellite is just in the middle of the field and there are no guards. It's your lucky day.
He didn't even have to get into a cardboard box.
it's like how vulnerable our power grid is to hacking. All of our essential infrastructure for controlling the weather is just totally exposed.
Oh, actually, as part of Doge, they cut all the security to the weather controller.
Yeah.
So another thing we can blame on them.
Thank you, big balls.
But I don't know, like Catherine, you and I were talking about this the other day, and it's just like this disaster is terrible, right? But like you know that in the next couple of years there's going to be some kind of either a hurricane or something like that is going to be even more devastating. And like I think then like you're really going to see I just compare it to Katrina, which is when the American public finally really did turn against George W. Bush. And I'm just wondering if like a similar dynamic is going to play out here with Trump, because like Katrina was early in George W. Bush's second term. And like, even though he won, I'm putting in quotation marks, 2004, people had already turned against the Iraq War. But it was really seeing like New Orleans just sink. And then like the complete lack of federal response that just left an entire city of people to fend for themselves for like a week. That's when like both the American public and the media was like the really big turn against George W. Bush, and his second term was never recovered from that ever. And I'm just wondering like the likelihood of seeing something, because like no matter how bad the FEMA response was to Katrina, can you imagine what it would be like now under Donald Trump if a similar level like hurricane happened?
We're probably going to get to see it. Like hurricane season just started, and we have 3 more years of them. Before this administration closes. So yeah.
Will, I agree with your assessment about like that Republicans aren't going to like Republican voters aren't going to like leave Trump as in the same numbers that they did with Bush. But I also think that like the actual group that constitutes like Republicans that are strictly like Trumpists, I think it's a lot smaller than people think. And I actually do kind of think that the opposition to Trump starting in January was kind of undercounted, especially among the Democratic Party. I mean, I think the system shock of a Republican winning the popular vote was kind of alarming to a lot of people. And it started this entire narrative that we talked about, which belied the fact that this was a guy winning by like 1.5 percentage points in a cost of living crisis against a really shitty candidate. And I do kind of think that like just rank and file opposition has been outpacing like either the liberal media or the Democratic Party's awareness of it, or perhaps willingness to embrace it. It is not like 2017, 2018, where there is a full court press and a lot of like regular seeming media. But I am kind of interested to see what that looks like a resistance, quote unquote, that is not immediately like co-opted downstream by the Democratic Party.
I don't know, like I'm just thinking about like natural disasters, and I'm interested in like the evolution of this idea that there are no such thing as natural disasters. Like I've seen people saying shit like there never used to be clouds when I was growing up. Like there's no more sunlight in America. We need to turn the sun back on. And I'm just like, I guess I'm just sort of shocked and amazed at how quickly this country is just going into the dark ages. Like a fully peasant mindset of which any natural disaster is just like the town over put a curse on us.
Yeah, we thought people were so stupid during Bush. We were like, how could they believe there were weapons in Iraq, you know? The average dumb jug hooter, like take that disgusting like fish looking woman who was wearing the fake purple hearts at the 2004 RNC.
Yeah.
She is like a genius compared to the average person now. The average person now is a a dung farmer from medieval England. It's insane.
We're going into a new dark ages. We're in the midst of a measles epidemic also. All bets are off.
Oh, by the way, also diseases aren't real either. They're all man-made.
Yeah, no.
Blame it on Mexican gremlins.
Which is kind of weird that diseases aren't real, because the fake treatments are. So if diseases aren't real, why do you need ivermectin to cure them?
Diseases are real, but they're all man-made. And,
right.
And,
Okay.
and the official cures for them are also those are the real diseases.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, if a hurricane just devastates large swaths of the Gulf Coast or Florida or something like that, I think that this can just be quickly metabolized now. That it was the weather machine that did it. It was a geoengineering trial run. It was a curse put on this country by immigrants. And it's just like you said, Felix, we can distribute $650 million in a week to build a concentration camp in the Everglades. But the expectation that the federal government should be there for disaster relief or even prevent predictable natural disasters or mitigate the worst outcomes of them by mustering the funds and manpower deploying them quickly. That's all out the window now. The only thing the federal government exists to do is to terrorize gardeners and caregivers and protect the feelings of Jewish college students.
Yeah, it is insane. That is, the federal government has no responsibility to you if, your home was destroyed by a hurricane. The federal government has no outsized role in disaster management. The federal government's only job is to make sure that everyone in Hillel feels good. It's and people are like, yep, I love that.
It's all very
That's
lib-brained
awesome.
if you think about it. Liberals during the Biden years also love to believe that the government can't do anything. And in fact, that's what they prefer to believe. We couldn't stop a genocide that we were aiding and abetting. So, there is kind of a dovetailing effect about what is government for? Nothing.
I don't really think that's a dovetailing effect, because that sort of Biden should be executed, but that is the prevailing American conservative theory, especially of government,
Right.
that it has no responsibility to really do any of these things that only the federal government can do. And that was the governing philosophy behind Katrina. The difference was that it was a different media environment, and that you had to have more of a pretense of being the president for everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a dovetailing effect.